Welcome into Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, the Phillies have made another signing. Josh Harrison, the veteran infielder, is now a member of your 2023 Philadelphia Phillies. We'll break down the contract, the signing, and how he fits with this team on today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, you know who I am. I'm Connor Thomas. I'm your host of Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. If you're not familiar with my work, you can hear me on the radio at 97.5 The Fanatic. See me on the television, NBC Sports Philadelphia, credentialed Philadelphia Phillies. I should be able to say the name of the team if I cover them. Credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member. Very happy to be here with you as your host of Locked On Phillies. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. And first things first, before we get into everything about Josh Harrison and the Phillies' new signing, you can see I'm wearing my Eagles hat here in the video if you're watching on YouTube. And that is because the Philadelphia Eagles are going to the darn Super Bowl. A little bit more on that later, actually, believe it or not. But go Birds. Huge win yesterday for the Eagles. Shout out to our friends over at Locked On Eagles. And it just, man, what a stretch it's been for Philadelphia with the Phils going to the World Series and now the Eagles going to the Super Bowl. It is an incredible time to be a Philadelphia sports fan. One of the best times in my life and one of the best times in history. So if you're a 4-for-4 fan, now I know there's folks out there that just like baseball, that are just Phillies fans, that are just watching this for baseball, and they're saying, hey, get to the Josh Harrison thing. I will. But if you are a 4-for-4 fan, you understand how special this is. So I wanted to mention it, and a little bit more coming up as well. So actually, during the NFC Championship game, so I haven't really gotten a chance to process. I'm recording this Monday. The NFC Championship game was, of course, Sunday afternoon. And during the NFC Championship game, word came down that the Philadelphia Phillies have signed Josh Harrison. And all my day has been, or my day was yesterday, was Eagles post-game on 97.5 The Fanatic. Come home and go to bed to wake up at 3 a.m. to get in there early to get everything set up for our morning show broadcast to talk Eagles, and then come home and take a nap. So I haven't even gotten a chance to process this yet. So some of this stuff I'm going to be working through, and you're going to see my actual mental process live here, or you're going to hear it, of what I think about the Josh Harrison signing and what he adds to the team. So first of all, the numbers. Josh Harrison signed to the Phillies, $2 million deal, 1 year. This puts him over their second luxury threshold. To add him to the 40-man roster, Sam Coonrod has been sent down. So he's been DFA'd. So you look at it, the second luxury threshold is something interesting. I'll have an episode a little bit later in the week about what I think that means and how much this matters. And I'm going to do a little bit of research about how often teams actually clear into the second luxury threshold and what that means for their success level. So I'm going to do a little bit of research on that. I'll probably write an article about it for 97.5 The Fanatic at some point this week, and I'll share my findings with you here in podcast form. But that's just the money, 1 year deal, $2 million, nothing crazy. Not losing your mind over that whatsoever. A good point. The Phillies actually had Josh Harrison a couple of years ago. They had him in camp. They had him in like summer camp, spring training, whatever. I guess it was summer camp because of 2020. And the pandemic, they didn't really have spring training. They had the later camp in the shorter season because they had to push it back because everything got shut down. The sports world got shut down. But they had him, and then they went ahead and they released him. They let him go because they didn't want to go into the luxury tax that year back in 2020. So, hey, now you're signing in to go into the second luxury tax threshold. So it'll be an interesting episode breaking down about how the Philadelphia Phillies mentality as an organization has changed. But Josh Harrison's, he's a really, really nice player. Like, the guy does a lot defensively. He's aging. So Josh Harrison, I'll give you this stat, though, from SIS Baseball on Twitter, SIS_baseball. Phillies add considerable defensive help by signing Josh Harrison. Harrison has averaged 12 runs saved per 1,000 innings at third base, And he's averaged 5 runs saved per 1,000 innings at second base for his career. Those are solid numbers. Phillies third baseman ranked last in runs saved in the 2022 season. We know Alec Boehm's over there and struggles defensively. Got better over the course of the season, but having a strong defensive backup in the infield is great. I know you have Edmundo Sosa, but now you add Josh Harrison in as well. So those are your two backups, and you don't have to worry about Cody Clemens. I'm sorry to all of you Scott Kingery fans out there who are thinking, okay, maybe this is the year that Scott Kingery comes up and makes an impact. Unless he's going to be playing in the outfield somewhere, looks like Scott Kingery is not going to be an impactful player on this team, because I do firmly believe Josh Harrison will be on the Major League roster. He was with the White Sox last year. So here are his numbers from last year with Chicago. He went ahead and, as I scroll through his baseball reference page, had 256, 317 OBP, 370 slugging, 687 OPS. Total number of at-bats, 386 at-bats. So, yeah, not an everyday player, but he got a good number of at-bats, scored 50 runs, had 99 hits, nearly cleared 100 hits. Pretty solid. 19 doubles, 2 triples, 7 homers, 27 RBIs. Not bad numbers for a guy that wasn't a starter for the White Sox last year. And, he's a 2-time All-Star. Now, those appearances were back in 2014 and 2017. So it's been a while for Josh Harrison to to really grace the All-Star presence. He's old, right? He's just, there's no other way to say it. The man's straight up old. He debuted at 23. He's now 35 years old. So if my math is correct, that's a total Major League seasons, 12 years in the majors, starting back in, wow. You know what? You want to feel old? 12 years makes you feel like, okay, he's been playing since like 2006. No, dude, 2011 is 12 years ago at this point, which drives me absolutely crazy and makes me feel like I should be retiring soon. I'm going to have to make a little bit more money first, like we all are. But no, so 2014 and 2017 with Pittsburgh were his years where he made the All-Star team for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He played 8 years in Pittsburgh, of course, 2 in Washington, 1 in Detroit with the Tigers, and 1 each with the Chicago White Sox and the Oakland Athletics. So it was the White Sox this past year. 2021, he was with Washington at the start of the year and then went to Oakland. 2020, he was with Washington as well, so he was moved at that 2021 trade deadline. 2019 was that year with Detroit, and all years prior, he had been in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers career, too. Let's just check the career numbers to kind of give you the tail of the tape for what Josh Harrison is offensively. We know he's good defensively, and we know that's a big need for the Philadelphia Phillies. If they were to bring anybody else in the rest of the way, I would have wanted them to be a defensive specialist. They don't really need a bat to come off the bench because your offense is so good already. You have a bevy of offensive powerhouses in the lineup, so you're fine. You don't need to go get like a random come off the bench, I should say, bat, even though it wouldn't hurt. That's not really the priority for the Phillies. But for his career, he's a 272 hitter. That's not bad. I mean, it's okay. If you got a backup career 272 hitter over 12 years in Major League Baseball, that's a quality professional hitter. We'll take that. 318 OBP, 398 slugging, 716 OPS. Never really had the power numbers. Nothing really crazy there, but you don't expect it from a guy who played second base a lot, played a good amount of third base as well. The most home runs he ever hit were 13 in 2014 and 16 in 2017. Guess what? Both of his All-Star years. So, yeah, I mean, you're not going to see a lot of leaving the yard. Maybe at Citizens Bank Park it'll make a difference, but nothing really crazy there. Stolen bases. He had a stretch back from 2014 to 2017 where he stole 18, 10, 19, 12. So he could run a little bit then, but I'll tell you more about this in the next segment, because coming up, I'm going to tell you specifically how Josh Harrison fits in with the Philadelphia Phillies at the 2 positions that he's going to be playing, which would be, well, possibly 3 positions, but the 2 positions I'd imagine he'll be playing, which would be second base and third base. But just overview, it's a nice move. It's a veteran guy. It's why I like Noah Syndergaard. It's why I like Craig Kimbrell this year. It's why I like bringing in guys like that. And why I like McCutchen a couple years back when people said he was cooked after he got done with his time in New York with the Yankees. You want guys that have played for a long time at this level, that the moment will not be too big for them, that has been there before, been with competitive teams, made playoff appearances, played hundreds of, maybe up to thousands of games of baseball, at the major league level, you want to go ahead. How many games does he have? Let's see if he's cleared 1,000 games, Major League Baseball. Yeah, played 1,168 games at the major league level. It's good to have strong youth players, like young rising stars. But when you're a competitive team in a championship window, the more veterans that you can add that have been there, done that, the better. And Josh Harrison is one of those guys. But how specifically does he fit? Well, we'll discuss that coming up next as we continue Locked On Phillies. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. This year, the only app you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the #1 sportsbook in America. I was using them yesterday for the championship games. Made some good money betting the Birds. Love that. They're FanDuel, and if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. Download FanDuel now so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who will score a touchdown. Let me tell you something. I'm going to give you a little bit of benefit. FanDuel should be paying me maybe millions upon billions of dollars for this information because this is incredibly valuable info that they're getting in the middle of this ad read. I have hit the Super Bowl coin toss 6 years in a row, 6 times. And I will let you know on Locked On Phillies in one of these reads what my pick is for Super Bowl 57 to go 7 straight years of nailing the coin toss. I've been on fire. I own coin tosses. I do it on FanDuel Sportsbook every year. And if you go ahead and take your free no sweat first bet, go ahead and put that all in the coin toss. I'll give you the information. I'm nailing it. I'm hot. Trail me. So that information is incredibly valuable. That's the bet that I like for the Super Bowl the most, which is crazy because it's literally a flip of the coin. But, hey, I've been good at it. So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/LockedOn and claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Okay, let's talk about how Josh Harrison fits in exactly with your Philadelphia Phillies this year because the infield is already pretty much set. You got Hoskins over at first base. You got Bryson Stott at second base. Shortstop, of course, is the new addition of Trey Turner, the best shortstop in baseball. And third base is Alec Bohm, who had a nice resurgent season last year after a down 2022 year and a bit of down 2021 year and a bit of a rough start to the 2022 campaign. So everything's set, right? Why bring in Josh Harrison? Well, first of all, at this point in his career, he's not a starter anymore. He's a guy that's going to be a come-off-the-bench piece, and he's going to be one of those not totally utility infielders, but a solid backup piece. Like, I see Edmundo Sosa as more of a utility infielder in that he's going to go out there and play really good at third or really good at short or really good at second, or if you need him to play first, you can, or if you need him to catch, you can, or if you need him to play in the outfield one day, he can. He's going to have a couple big at-bats here and there, and he's still a young player that can move and is versatile and can play every day if you need him to. More versatility out of Edmundo Sosa. But Josh Harrison is the more proven player. He's a multi-time All-Star. So that's a guy that you're looking at that you trust more in big spots than Sosa, even though Sosa gave you some amazing moments last season during that World Series run and especially during the regular season to help you get to the playoffs. So I think Sosa is going to be your utility guy that it's hard to say who's going to get the nod first between them to go out there. It'd be hard to not say Josh Harrison considering he's a multi-time All-Star, but Sosa was so good for this team, and he was with the organization last year. I think people are already comfortable with him. They'll split time depending on the position. If Trey Turner needs a night off, it'll be Edmundo Sosa at shortstop. But if it's Alec Bohm at third base, it'll be a toss-up between Sosa and Harrison as far as what you're looking at for who goes in the game. Now, I'm just checking something on Edmundo Sosa's baseball reference page here real quick. And, of course, the other thing is they're both right-handed bats, too. Josh Harrison a righty, Edmundo Sosa's a righty. So you're not looking at a situation where, okay, if you need a utility infielder or a backup for Alec Bohm and you need a lefty, there's no difference between the two of them. So I'd be looking at – here's where I'd be most interested in Josh Harrison playing. Josh Harrison, I'd be looking at as your backup second baseman. I think Alec Bohm could be replaced by either over at third base. That's where I think it'll be a coin flip. I think that if Trey Turner is out, it will be Edmundo Sosa at shortstop because he's more comfortable with the shortstop position. And if Bryson Stott needs a day at second base, I believe it'll be Josh Harrison. The reason why Josh Harrison is second, because second is one of his more natural positions, and because he's a right-handed bat. So you put him in righty for Bryson Stott's lefty. So that's compared to, because I know I said they're both right-handed hitters, him and Edmundo Sosa. Well, that's compared to backing up Alec Bohm at third base with them both being righty. So at least you get a different feel in the lineup if he's replacing at second base. And that's why third base is a coin flip. I think third base would probably go to Harrison as well because he's better defensively over there than Edmundo Sosa for a longer period of time. But I don't know. The good news is he could slot in any of these positions, right? If he needed to play shortstop, he could. But you now have two guys that could back up two of the three infield positions. Well, I guess three of the three if you're Edmundo Sosa, two of the three if you're Josh Harrison in third base and second base. And that replaces what you lost with Nick Maton. I know I said when that trade was initially done, Nick Maton going was basically a swap for Cody Clemens. Like Cody Clemens would come here, and even though Nick Maton had a couple more moments at the major league level than Clemens, he was a guy that you could see as like a lower level utility guy, bench piece. Every once in a while, he gets a start. Think of him as like the Dalton Guthrie of the infield. Well, now you have a bona fide player backing up Bryson Stott and backing up Alec Bohm in the infield and Josh Harrison. So it just adds depth to your roster. It makes the team look better. It puts you in a spot where if you need a big at bat, you're not putting out a guy who's barely played at the major league level in Cody Clemens if you've already used Edmundo Sosa in the game. Gives you another bat off the bench that's at least a veteran guy. This all helps. I don't think Josh Harrison will have a DH for this team, so he doesn't fill that role. But you're looking at just – I go back to what I said. And we've already broken down the positions he could fit in. We've talked about the numbers. The more veterans you have on the team, the better for your championship window. The younger your team is, the further away from your championship window you are. It's just nature. It doesn't mean a young team or a team that's starting young players at some positions can't win a World Series. What it means is I trust those veteran players more in pressure situations because they've been through them before. Let me just put you through this, okay? We all have inherent biases in life. You're going to the auto shop. Your car your radiator's busted or something's wrong, hood's smoking. And you walk in, you got a guy who barely looks like he shaved before, who's 21 years old, who's like, oh, let me take a look at it. Or you go in and you got a guy who's 35 years old, full beard, got like a scar on his arm from cutting it on like a piece of a car one time or something like that, or a piece of machinery, and he's all covered in grease and everything. Which one of those guys would you rather have fixing your car? Because for me, it's certainly the second guy. He's been around the block a little bit. Not to say that he's inherently any better than the other mechanic, but you look at experience, and it's important in big situations and pressure situations that you have that available. And with Josh Harrison, the Philadelphia Phillies now have that. Hey, one more piece to go, and I still promise you this episode, and I will get this episode to you. But, of course, the breaking news on the trade that came out yesterday took priority. But now you got to figure out what in the world you're doing with the outfield. Is Dalton Guthrie really the answer out there? The more we get signings and the more they're not outfield players, well, the more I think he actually might be. That's something for next episode. Coming up, I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on what we've got going on as far as scheduling for the next couple episodes. So we will discuss that coming up next as we finish up Locked On Phillies. All right, let me tell you a little bit about Built Bar, because maybe you're looking for a delicious treat, but you don't want all of the fat and calories. Well, you got to go get a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays. My goal is the same as yours, trying to keep weight off, trying to lose weight, trying to get in shape for summer. A lot of stuff going on to hit my goals for 2023. Sometimes, though, you want a nice, tasty snack, and you don't want to go with terrible tasting protein bar that makes you wish you could just have a candy bar. Well, try Built Bars, because they're covered in 100% real chocolate. They taste amazing. They come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut, almond, all that great stuff. But they have 17 grams of protein, only 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar. It's incredible numbers. It keeps you in great shape. It tastes awesome. I don't know how Built does it, but they're healthy. They taste delicious. It's just beautiful. So go ahead and get a box yourself. Before, you had to order online. Well, now you can pick them up at your local Sam's Club or Walmart. You go to your Walmart, you can pick up a 4-bar box of like cookies and cream or double chocolate. If you're Sam's Club, you can get a 13-bar box. You know they do it in bulk at Sam's Club. So go ahead and check that out. Try Built Bar, and you can thank me later. Okay, just wrapping up on today's Locked On Phillies. And coming up, we're going to have a bit of an interesting episode tomorrow. I know this is Locked On Phillies, but Philadelphia sports, like I said in my open today, has been on an absolute tear. And I kind of want to take an episode because it's the offseason and everything going on there. I want to take an episode to talk about the city in general, the feels, the comparison between this Eagles run and the Philadelphia Phillies run, what it's like here, because I know I've got a lot of people that listen from around the country, around the world even. So if you're not having the chance to be here to experience what the buzz has been like sports-wise in the city, the Sixers on a great run. The Phillies, of course, National League champions going to the World Series. The Eagles most recently going to the Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Union, our MLS team, going to the MLS Cup and coming very close to winning it. This has been 3 straight seasons where a Philadelphia team has been in the championship for their major league. The MLS, the Phillies in the World Series, and now the Eagles in the Super Bowl. The Sixers have a real chance to go to the finals. It's absolutely an incredible run here in Philadelphia. So if you'll indulge me, tomorrow's episode, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Philadelphia sports scene in general. It's going to be a bit of an off-the-cuff episode compared to what I normally do, which is just breaking down Philly-specific stuff. But because it's the offseason and because we've got a little bit of time to kill before spring training, because I have plenty of episodes that I got to put out to go ahead and get everything squared away for you guys, we'll have a lot more content. But for one day, I want to kind of take it to a higher view, take that 1,000-foot view of what's going on in Philadelphia sports in general. I think it'll be a nice change of pace for one of these episodes. And we'll also still do the outfield episode where we talk about the options that the Philadelphia Phillies have left for their outfield spots and everything like that. So don't worry, we will get all that done as well. But I wanted to make sure that I did that and gave proper props to the Philadelphia Eagles, the Union, the Sixers, and, of course, your Philadelphia Phillies, who started this whole run themselves with a miraculous World Series run. But we'll discuss all that on tomorrow's episode. I think it'll be a fun change of pace. That's all for today's Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB Prospects. Lindsey Crosby just recently put out some great stuff about the Philadelphia Phillies prospects, and Andrew Painter and the most recent MLB pipeline list, or I guess MLB prospects list of the top 100 prospects came out. Andrew Painter is number 5, I believe. And I'm sure Lindsey has a bunch of great stuff over on Locked On MLB Prospects about all those prospects across baseball. So go ahead and check out his work. It's available on YouTube, Odyssey app, wherever you get your podcast. Again, that's Locked On MLB Prospects. So go ahead and check them out. And you can check out Locked On Phillies, all those places as well. YouTube, Odyssey app, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing. I appreciate it. My goal is to hit 1,000 by the time spring training starts. We're pushing 900 now. We can get there. There's been huge growth with the Philadelphia Phillies Locked On Phillies page. So I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed. If you haven't, what are you waiting for? Costs you nothing. Takes 2 seconds. Go ahead and hit the bell. Hit the subscribe button. You'll be all squared away. Or follow me on Twitter at ConnorThomas975. Follow Locked On Phillies on Twitter at LO_Phillies. Just lock in on all our content because the Phils are still moving, still making moves, and a lot of fun stuff as we hurtle towards spring training not that far away. That's all for today's Locked On Phillies, and I will talk to you tomorrow.